I heard about a story just recently about a person comparing their property purchase to a friend of theirs. Both him and a friend bought a property similar time. He bought a cheaper property, something like $500,000. His friend bought an expensive one, $1.1 million. His was positively geared. His friend's $1.1 million house was not positively geared. And what happened over the last 5 years, is he got $150,000 of capital growth in his property, which is really good. 30% capital growth, that's good, and it's positively geared. His friend, however, got nearly double capital growth. So his friend's property went from 1.1 to something like 1.9 million. So his friend's made $800,000 in capital growth. He's made 150 plus maybe $5,000 a year positively geared. So who's better off in that situation? Obviously the friend, he's got $800,000 in equity that if he's got enough serviceability he can tap into. Sure, it might be negatively geared, but if you've got serviceability you can tap into that $800,000. Or worst case, he goes and sells it, realizes the cash, pays some tax on the cash. Hopefully he's put it in a half decent structure, pays some tax on the cash, and then uses that cash to go and buy further properties. So it highlights that in one instance you've got somebody who's got $150,000 of built-in equity, and another situation where he's got $800,000. Now, obviously the deposit that they had to put down was different, but if you work out that as a ratio on cash return, in the first instance he might have had to put down, say, $100,000. Let's just assume 20% deposit, and I won't worry about stamp duty and all that stuff. So let's just assume he's had to put down $100,000 deposit to buy a $500,000 house, versus his mate, he's had to put down, say, $220,000 deposit. So he's had to put down 4 times the amount of money, but then obviously the 200 has turned into now 800 on top. So he's turned the 200 into $1 million, and initial guys turn $100,000, sorry, double the amount, $100,000 into $250,000. So on one hand you got $250,000, on the other hand you got $1 million. If you minus the $100,000, you really need to compare, $900,000 in total capital versus $250,000.